Great. Hi, I'm Jim Gaherity. I'm the CEO for Coinstar. We're a 27-year-old kiosk-based technology that's based here in the Seattle area.
27 years old, you said?
20. I'm not 27.
No,
I wish I were
but
27.
I didn't realize it's been that
20,
old.
20
Wow.
Yeah, 27 years old. We've got about 20,000 kiosks around the globe. We're operating out of 12 countries now, and I've been running the company for about 4 years.
Great. I'm Neil Bergquist, co-founder and CEO of CoinMe. CoinMe is a blockchain technology company that first started as a Bitcoin ATM business, and then we've taken that technology to partner with Coinstar to enable their business because we don't want to spend 27 years building the world's largest Bitcoin ATM network. So we did that in a couple months through the partnership. And then we also have a private client group, which is kind of your Goldman Sachs for digital assets. So you can put your retirement account into Bitcoin because it's a long-term hold, tax deferred, or just ask those silly questions that a website can't do for you. So two sides of the business there.
You obviously have quite a bit of your own ATM and kiosks yourself, right? With CoinMe, like dedicated ones, right?
Yes, we have our own machines where we write software down to the firmware and integrate a wallet into it, so you can scan an ID, pull that out, make sure they're not a terrorist, take a picture, match face to ID, and you can do an instant transaction. And since it's cash, it settles instantly, so there's some value in that. Also, cash is a large market that you can't put into a phone or a laptop, so cash-based remittances, things like that, is a segment. But what we found actually is it's a familiar transaction experience, and so really it builds trust. That's really something that's been missing in the marketplace even today, is that trust factor. So even now in this partnership, you can walk into your grocery store with a brand that you trust and buy Bitcoin through a licensed exchange partnership. So the kiosk actually has really done that. The majority of our customers are first-time purchasers, and then they're mobile from there on, or they keep using the kiosk. So it's really a key piece of infrastructure for the overall digital currency economy.
Yeah, and to touch on that, it's all about trust. Jim, how did Coinstar trust that this is even a viable thing to do, in introducing Bitcoin at the grocery store, right? Like where people do everyday shopping.
Milk, eggs, and Bitcoin.
Milk, eggs, and Bitcoin.
Yeah, if you saw the press release, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so look, we do financial transactions. That's typically what we do. Mostly what we do. We do about 70 million transactions a year that are based on turning coin into spendable currency or into products and services that you can buy at the kiosk. And then over the last several years, we started to move into other alternative financial services. So think of things like bill payment services, money transfer services. And it kind of led us down the path where we finally got to the place, and our board actually said, have you ever thought about cryptocurrency on your kiosk? And I'm like, I don't know, isn't that a little dangerous? I mean, does that bring the right element into the store? We're dealing with the world's largest retailers like Walmart and Kroger and so forth in the States and others internationally. And then one day, lo and behold, Neil walks into the office for an introduction and starts to tell us about how he does KYC and he has MTLs and all these other kinds of what we consider to be more safe type of transactions. And that kind of led to really great ideas about how to tell the retailer about how this is a really safe opportunity for them to bring in differentiated type consumers to the machine, maybe new people coming into their place of business, and having an opportunity to engage with them in a different way. And it allows, as Neil was saying, the opportunity to use cash to purchase this form of currency. So it took a while to get there, but we finally did.
And so I see Coinstar probably in every grocery store I go to. I'm wondering, did any of those retailers have pushback to this type of partnership?
Yeah, to date, not one. I mean, we have rolled out to over 2,000 locations today. So we very easily signed up all of our retailers to take this service. We have more that are itching in order to get it. It's just a matter of time before we get the MTLs and open those up. So our opportunity here over the next year, maybe year or two, is about 7,000 to 8,000 locations we think we can get this spread to in the U.S., and then we'll look at it internationally.
Neil, I know one of the mantras is with CoinMe is like helping the unbanked and these sort of things. How does this partnership help you get towards that?
Yeah, I think it provides that touch point with that consumer. There's about 20% of people in the United States that don't even have a bank account, $120 billion a year in remittance. If you read Western Union's annual report, they say that the majority of the revenue comes from cash-based remittance. So a kiosk obviously can accept cash, and the fees are actually less than existing companies if you factor in their spreads. So I mean that's significant, and that actually it's so significant that if you were to reduce those fees, let's just use Western Union as an easy example, between the United States to Mexico, there's about $28 billion a year that goes there, and if you bring that spread down into more of a cryptocurrency spread, you're actually increasing Mexico's GDP by 0.01%. So I mean,
Because of fees and so forth, or
just because of fees. So it's pretty significant. I mean, that's why we're all very excited about digital currency. It solves real world problems. That's another reason why our volumes last year and continuing are going up. We're not an online exchange. People aren't gambling on the price of Bitcoin. People are using this to solve everyday problems. Yes, people are purchasing as an investment or as a store of value or speculation, but they're also doing remittances and payments. And we actually on Reddit, there's comments of people that are banking on it. We don't advertise that because Bitcoin's not a stable coin, but people are living in cash and Bitcoin and using the kiosks as their terminal. Which is, we call them the innovators on the adoption curve, right? But it's just interesting to see these types of use cases that are coming out of this.
Yeah. So with that, you're how many months into crypto now?
2 months and a couple days. I think
you pick it up quick.
Yeah,
you're doing good.
Let's
quiz them.
Not in this audience.
Did you have any kind of background or personal interest in blockchain or cryptocurrency before this type of?
No, as a matter of fact, I'm still a novice at this point in time, but we've been fortunate enough to have a good partner here who's come into our business and educate our employees on this, and more so, I think the blockchain technology discussions continue outside of Bitcoin, obviously, or cryptocurrency. But J.P. Morgan Chase now has their blockchain technology, so I think it's becoming more aware. And I think the awareness factor is what's going to drive more behavior, which is what we're working on is trying to drive that awareness and behavior out into the mainstream market.
100%.
And I think Jim and company deserve a lot of kudos because with their involvement in this space, I mean, look, we've been a startup and we've been turned down by over 200 banks. They can't even have an operating account even though we're licensed, and it's ridiculous. But now when you start getting a $1 billion company involved in the space that is owned by Apollo, which is one of the largest private equity funds in the world, 250 billion under management, then people start paying attention to digital currency. And so it's great to see these types of partnerships and companies like Coinstar getting into the space because it's really helping build that infrastructure. It's helping build those partnerships. It's helping kind of that old guard, turn their head a bit and take it seriously. So it's great that obviously that you've done this, and I hope that more larger companies do get into the space because they can grease the skids a lot more than a startup just trying to be on the outside knocking on doors.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think what we're trying to do together here with this technology, bringing it to the masses, and primarily it's grocery and mass distribution, retailer distribution, is to get these retailers interested in it from a senior level, right? And eventually, what the hope would be is that you can start using that in store to buy stuff, right? So you can exchange that cryptocurrency for milk and eggs and the other things that we talked about.
Yeah, I love this story so much, and one of the main reasons I reached out to Neil, I was like, hey, we should do this type of conversation here in front of our TF community. Is it's a prime example of exactly what our mission is with TF Blockchain. So our mission is to connect the broader business and technology community and connect them with blockchain innovators. I wish I made this connection, I didn't, but I totally agree with you when it comes to if a company like Coinstar starts thinking about blockchain, then a sidestep company in your similar industry might start thinking about it. What I always say is with Facebook and Amazon and Microsoft thinking about blockchain because they have to, since the enterprise is talking to them about it. Now we're going to start seeing the Zillows and the Zulilis and some of these larger companies that aren't at that mass scale of those companies. So kudos to you for doing that.
I think they'll probably start seeing, someone wants to go first, right? And,
exactly.
And then as this story gets out there and, people learn that the product's growing 17% week over week, it's like, oh, okay, like I'll start taking it seriously.
Yeah, and to that point, that 17% growth that we're seeing in transactional volume week over week is not been backed by a large marketing effort at this point in time. So to the point about awareness, We've got about 350 million impressions a week. People just walking past our kiosk, and advertising this is on a low level right now. But
Is
once we
is
get
there
it
a
going,
sign on there that just says
there is.
Bitcoin?
There is. There's a couple different signs on the attract screen, and then there's
That's
some
Really?
hard. Yeah, that's it. And then some hard advertising that's placarded on the machine. But
Yeah.
the plan here is to get out there and really educate folks about what they can do and where they can do it.
And that's what's going to be really fun, is changing the conversation. I think the industry is at blame for letting the media just run headlines. Bitcoin's down 85% from its peak. Well, if you just take the lowest price of Bitcoin, it's actually up every year since 2015, and it's the best performing asset class. But you can spin it however you want. We need to get out in front and change the conversation. And so we're together investing a lot in marketing awareness, which will be coming out through this year, and really changing that conversation, building awareness, educating people, helping them understand how they can leverage this and how it changes their everyday life and their routines. And so it's exciting to be able to do that, especially since Coinstar has a kiosk located within 5 miles for 90% of Americans. So now that you have the infrastructure, build the awareness, you get adoption, and that's what we're all here doing.
Take us through that a little bit. What are some methods and means that you can go about to build that awareness that could be an example for anybody here that's trying to do the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, we're still open to ideas. I mean, this isn't a crystal ball. So
Raise
if you
your hand
have
if you
any
have an idea.
ideas, honestly, if you have any ideas, John Marin, our CMO, is here. I'm sure you all have some creative ideas. We're thinking like, flash mobs to signs to billboards to partnerships with other marketing groups. You could put it on the receipt at the store. You could, when you check out, the little thing on the shopping cart, you could do so much to build awareness, but it's not so much just a simple part of building awareness, but then also the education piece. So how do you explain digital currency in a headline? You really just want to create hooks where people want to learn more. So really creating those types of funnels, but it's a really, really fun challenge. And
I think that's the question you should leave everybody with before you go, right? That's the one question.
We'll save that for the end. I'll remember to ask you that.
Box of ideas or something over here, right?
Yeah. If you have box ideas, please insert. So, take us through from a company level. Where did this decision lie? Did the decision lie with you? How much diligence did you have to do on this? How much vetting did you have to do on this? And are you continuing to vet, or are you bought in now?
Yeah, I think when we first, the diligence we did was basically on the side of working with CoinMe and trying to understand how to go to business with this, right? So there's some complexities on a banking level, right? Depositing, a lot of the large banks that we work with are risk adverse, right? They're not interested in seeing these types of funds deposited. So we've had to really work through that kind of aspect on the banking side. We got very comfortable with the technology. That was probably the easiest piece that we had to go through, and our board approved it almost overnight. As a matter of fact, they had recommended it to us at one point in time a couple of years ago. So it wasn't about getting adoption within the organization, and it's clearly not about getting adoption with our retail partners. So the Krogers and Walmarts and all of these large industries here in the U.S. that we already work with, we're very open to the opportunity to bring this into the store. And again, it's bringing in a different customer, right? It's bringing in a new customer for them that they can then market to, so they really enjoy it. But I think the banking is probably the most difficult thing to get around, and we're still kind of working through a lot of that together here.
Yeah, and why is that?
Well, it's a lot of it's the way that we're capitalized. So our structure, we're in a whole business securitized structure, and it's all the assets are rigidly controlled. So we have to be very careful about our covenants and the way that we're taking in different forms of money, kind of not contaminating one against the other type of a thing. So
yeah, I mean, when you do $3.5 billion a year in volume, you can't really go to those digital currency friendly banks. You're going to J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, the Darth Vader banks. So it's you gotta get creative at times, but we've been able to put together a solution, which is great, and I guess that really creates a barrier to entry for us. However, I would rather those larger banks just bank us. That would be nice.
I think it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
So, being that you're both in this particular kiosk side, I'm curious what other use cases, industries outside of what you're both doing feel like an interesting use case that could really take off.
Yes, that question again.
Sorry, I did a terrible job asking that question.
That's good.
I
haven't slept much, so it could
that's
just
right.
have gone
Yeah,
through
so
one
it's
Fresh off a
funny.
plane
I was
from
talking to
Japan,
Dom, and it was like, oh yeah, sorry, Neil's getting back, or he's not here yet. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, oh yeah, he's in Japan. I'm like, wait a second. So Neil just got back from Japan today.
Yeah, this morning.
Yeah, he got back from Japan for that. He lives here, but he came all the way from Japan. So his arms are
just
tired.
for you, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry, my question was.
I came from Bellevue.
Man, yeah. What other use cases are interesting to you for mass adoption? Or is it nothing else is interesting but what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess well, in Tokyo, Roger Ver's got a show, and for those of you who know him, he's likes Bitcoin Cash, and it works.
Bcash?
It works really well. BCH. So, anyways, on the Bitcoin.com wallet, he's really trying to build a payment network. So actually, people are using Bitcoin, and kind of the analogy is think of Bitcoin as your savings account, and think of Bitcoin Cash as your checking account. So when you actually pay with Bitcoin Cash, you go to the merchant, scan the QR code, and it happens like actually faster than a debit or credit card, and so. That's an interesting use case that I think we'll see more of. But the reality is people have entered the industry trying to get rich on the price and speculation. They're not necessarily using it as a payment mechanism. But as you see this infrastructure that actually now can support payments and is fast and efficient and cheaper, 1% to the merchant versus 2 to 3% to the merchant, could be very disruptive. And I think, on the retailer level, we're in a unique position to start introducing those types of use cases and really create that full circle within the whole kind of digital currency economy and within your portfolio.
Definitely. So I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of questions. So we're going to open up questions. I just have one rule. You have 20 seconds to ask your question, and please make sure it's a question and not a comment. And we're just going to run through rapid fire. So does anybody want to go first? All right.
We're in the point of sale firmware space for point of sale terminals. And so my question is, who do you think right now, maybe it's Bitcoin Cash, is doing the best job of kind of solving the Bitcoin for milk problem? Because that's the problem we want to solve most.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bitcoin Cash has done a good job just because it's good enough. I mean, it's fast, it's easy, it's been integrated into a lot of exchanges and wallets, so that those key pieces of infrastructure is there. But I mean, it's not on all the point of sale systems, so. They're having to pay people to have to go out and build these partnerships one by one. I mean, that is very hard to do. It'd be nice if, very large networks just integrated with it, but we haven't seen that. Maybe Coinbase Commerce can solve that problem with all the money they just raised, but we'll see what happens.
Could you tell us more about what you did with Coinstar? What can I do in a store today with those 2,000 machines in US?
Yeah, so good question. So you go to a Coinstar machine, and there's a button on the home screen that says Buy Bitcoin, powered by CoinMe. You click on that, and then you go through a user experience to insert cash up to $2,500 a day, and then you buy Bitcoin. And the way we did it, because there's no cameras on the Coinstar machine like a CoinMe ATM, so we do KYC on site. Here, you actually get a redemption code, and then you go to the CoinMe wallet, and then if you're an existing user, you just log in, enter the code, Bitcoin shows up in your wallet. If you're a new user, you go create an account, then do KYC. So we leverage the camera on the mobile phone or laptop.
It's important to know that you can't use coin to purchase the cryptocurrency. It has to be
not yet
paper money. Now he keeps pushing me, but that might cannibalize some of the activity I've got going. But it's all paper money, so it's bill acceptors that are used at the machine.
I didn't know that your machines actually accept bills.
Yeah, they accept. We have about 8,000 machines out of the 17,000 in the U.S. that accept bills today, but they're all upgradable.
Our average transaction size is $500, so we wanted to do bills. We weren't actually shooting for the change business, but everyone knows Coinstar for change, and there's a lot of dusty quarters that now have a use case.
It would be a wheelbarrow of coin. Yeah. Wouldn't make sense, yeah.
Do you guys support going the other way at all, from Bitcoin to cash so you can get cash and then buy your milk or whatever?
Yeah, exactly, and that's if we could integrate into the payment side where they could buy Bitcoin and then just have the wallet and then be able to pay that in store and other places for sure. One of the challenges is the average sell is actually higher than $500. So it's just a lot of cash. And these tills don't have that much cash in them. Like at our kiosk, I mean, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars that's there so that you get instant cash out when people sell. So it's a little bit of a different challenge.
Yeah, I think that from the traditional transaction we do is somewhere around just south of $50, right? So it's easy for on a 10 or 12 transaction a day for the retailer to handle the distribution of those funds. But if we start redeeming Bitcoin in the store for cash, it's gonna bleed them dry pretty quick.
Evan Morris here. Could the slips of paper from the Coinstar machine be used as their own form of paper currency?
I think it'd be a little difficult to do today. I mean, from a security standpoint, we build in features into our paper to make sure that they can't be duplicated in some way.
I mean, could I hand the receipt to Lawrence and Lawrence could cash it in?
So just for the audio, he's wondering if he could hand the receipt to someone else and someone else be able to cash that in.
The answer is yes.
Does that make it a Gaherity?
Hold on, we got a question over here.
No.
This might have already been answered, but as far as the conversion to how does it have any IRS tax implications?
I mean, it's taxed just the way they've taxed digital currencies since 2014, just as an asset. So capital gains, short-term gains. Right. So if you buy low, sell high, you pay capital gains. If you buy high, sell low, you get to write it off.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I heard that you guys are also converting just regular cash into gift cards. Can that conversion happen from Bitcoin to, say, Walmart gift card?
Well, I was just going to say that would happen on the wallet side. So once you have the Bitcoin, then you can spend it, gift cards or different online payment mechanisms or merchants that accept Bitcoin. Gift cards are one of them for sure.
Okay, thank you.
We have time for one last question. On Mac. Sorry, use the mic.
Sorry. Neil, could you see CoinMe being an escrow agent in some regard, where if I wanted to take a purchase on a much, much larger level, someone wants to pay in cash or pay in Bitcoin, but somebody else needs to receive in cash, and CoinMe could be the intermediary, could you be an escrow agent of some sort?
Yeah, actually, Nathan's group and Private Client, they'll do millions of dollars of transactions, and usually you bring in an escrow agent or a law firm to essentially take custody of the digital asset, take custody of the dollars, and then do the swap. And so they're not tied to any one party. So we've brought in escrow on demand. I mean, it adds a cost to the transaction, but obviously, if you're like a hedge fund wanting to buy Bitcoin, you just, you want to make sure that you're going to get the coins before you wire that money. But as a licensed exchange, people trust us enough to not have to bring in an escrow agent.
So what's your question to the audience again? Is it the idea box?
Yeah.
No, come on. What's the question?
How should CoinMe and Coinstar build mass market awareness for Bitcoin?